It is Tuesday, August 5th, 2025. Let's get into the Bitcoin news. I'm starting out today with the most significant. Brazil's lower house to hold hearing on creating national Bitcoin reserve. Wow, this is the type of information that excites me, and I know there's just kind of a little uncertainty right now with Bitcoin and it's pulling back a little bit, but it's just mirroring the stock market, to be quite honest. When I read something like this, I want it to pull back because I want to drop the trigger and plus up in a big way. And I'd like to do that at lower prices because once the race starts with government flying to buy Bitcoin, that's when this thing ignites. So let's look at this article. If a bill to create BTC reserves passes in Brazil's House of Representatives, it will require Senate approval and then signed by law by the country's president. Brazil's House of Representatives will be holding a meeting August 20th, so that's coming in a couple weeks, to discuss the bill proposing the creation of a national Bitcoin reserve for the country. So why is this significant? Well, the bill was introduced in 2024, and it would allow up to 5% of the country's treasury funds to be used to buy Bitcoin, which is approximately $15 billion. Let me foot stomp again. It's approximately $15 billion. And that's just one country. Wait till the race starts and the gun fires and everybody tries to plus up. Because you get a Saudi Arabia involved in this, game over. Right now, President Trump, and that's kind of what sparked this, he signed a similar deal, but we're not using taxpayer funds or allocating our own funds to buy Bitcoin right now, but we're keeping what has been basically confiscated. We're not selling it. So it's interesting. This excites me. This is the next wave of the upward movement. I'm trying to get as much as I can right now. Anyway, next up, Tommy Lee. I see him on CNBC. He tends to be kind of a contrarian and aggressive caller. He's right more times than not from what I've seen. I like him quite a bit. But here is what he's saying. He's saying Bitcoin is undergoing a reframing on how institutions may treat it, not as a volatile asset, but as digital infrastructure akin to real estate. So Bitcoin as a treasury asset is like owning land underneath McDonald's franchise. So if you've seen that movie, if you haven't seen the McDonald's movie, really, as a business major, wow. What a brilliant plan. Own the land under and then lease that back to the franchise owners. That way you maintain control of the situation. Bitcoin, it's looking like a similar type thing. So you'd rather own the land and not have to run the franchise. And he's paralleling this to Bitcoin. It's better to be the landowner. Let me try it one more time. It's better to be the landowner of a McDonald's franchise than the operator, Lee said, explaining that corporations may begin viewing Bitcoin as a foundational asset, one that provides long-term capital leverage, much like commercial real estate does in traditional business. Now, I'm going to have a Warren Buffett article a little bit later, and I'm going to tie this in to not having Bitcoin as a traditional asset on the balance sheet and what that does to you. Next up, I love this. I've been following this guy for a while because I was stationed in England in the military for a brief moment, and this guy, he mined or had 8,000 Bitcoin, however he obtained them back in 2023, and his girlfriend threw away his hard drive that stored it, and it ended up in a British landfill, and he's been trying to get in there to go to rummage through all that, and that Bitcoin's worth almost $1 billion now in today's dollars. So for the last decade plus, he's tried to buy the landfill. He's done everything, and they just keep saying no. Let's see here. He offered over $30 million to buy the landfill. They said no. His next plan, very interesting. So apparently this guy's a software programmer. He's coming up with his own coin, and he's tokenizing the equivalent of his 8,000 coins, which was his entire wallet, into 800 billion of this new coin. Now I had to go back and just look at what that even consisted of. So this new coin is being developed by him, and he famously lost 8,000 coins in the landfill. It's a layer 2. It's a Bitcoin layer 2 token designed to represent value of his lost Bitcoin. Now, I don't know how that works. Technically, his hard drive's toast. I mean, in a landfill for that amount of time, corrosion, the platters, it's not like solid state drives of now. I just don't see it being something you could pull that data off of anymore, even if you bought the landfill. So it's toast. However, I'm wondering if the trash guys are digging through it trying to find it. And if it were found, what does that look like? I doubt it. I mean, landfill. If anybody's ever been to a landfill or the dump, you know what that looks like. So I can't imagine digging through one. I don't know. I'm sure it is gone, that it will never resurrect or light back up. That would be news. And I would have to report that instantly. But I'm sure it just lost Bitcoin. But how you tokenize Bitcoin that you've lost, I don't know how that works. It doesn't make sense to me, because you've lost ownership of your property, buddy. But he's coming up with his own coin. He's been all over the news, and maybe it takes off and it ends up making the equivalent amount of what his Bitcoin would have been. I don't know. I'm sure he's going to set aside a big portion of those coins for himself, kind of like Satoshi did way back when. It's interesting. I want to follow this. Next up, Warren Buffett. Wow. He's the Oracle of Omaha. He has a cultish following. Charlie Munger, his right-hand man, unfortunately passed away recently. But he's the original OG in the investing world. He built really something from nothing. He made some prudent investments early on, and he tends to look for at least a 10% return. Companies on balance sheets that are, what's the word I'm looking for? That have value, that have a product that people need. It doesn't matter what the economy's doing, they need that service. Or, for instance, insurance and Geico, Coke. These things just typically, they don't go away, and they tend to print money over the long haul. And so he looks at the balance sheet, he looks for value, and he strikes a deal. I remember GE was near bankruptcy, and Warren came swooping in. He provided them a big loan, got about 10% return doing that. He looks for these opportunities, but he hates Bitcoin. He just does. So this article, Warren Buffett misses out on $850 million in Bitcoin gains by stacking cash in 2025. Now, this article actually understates that amount a whole lot, because they're only talking about his cash hoard taking 5% of it and putting it in Bitcoin, which for his standards would be very conservative. He just won't touch it. He doesn't believe in it. He thinks it's trash. I disagree. Because of the evolution and just having followed it so long, and companies adopting it, governments getting in, it's just a supply and demand thing. And in my mind, it's superior in the way it's designed, and it's a future replacement to gold in a lot of ways. And as Tom Lee had mentioned, it's actually something more than that. Structural rethinking of how companies manage their treasuries, and looking at it more like real estate, like commercial real estate, and to be able to leverage off that and to do cool things, take loans against it. And as that asset goes up in value, because supply and demand, people keep buying it. Yeah, poor Warren. His businesses are suffering due to the trade wars. I'm still a believer, long term. When the markets go crazy, I've been following Warren long enough to know, long after he passes, he has succession. And that succession is mirroring his philosophy and how he picks and selects companies and invests and whatnot. So I wouldn't be concerned as an owner of like Berkshire Hathaway Class A or B shares. I like to trade it through another product that pays a dividend called OMAH. It's a relatively new product, but they're essentially selling calls over the top of what Warren owns, plus a little bit of Warren Buffett stock to generate a premium. And I've showed you that in the past in my actual trades, but you're paying a fund manager to do the equivalent of what I'm showing you. So again, I like to stash cash in there, collect the dividend, which is typically about 15% a year. You do pay taxes on that, which is a bummer, but you know, it's a safe place in my mind to put cash while you're waiting for those Bitcoin opportunities. Yes. Next up, Bitcoin. Now, this is more price predictions, and again, I don't put a lot of stock in any of this, but it's basically Bitcoin's hesitating. It's kind of settling in around 114. Kind of the consensus I was seeing would be like a range of, say, 106 to 112 is where this article suggests that it might settle in. Here's the thing: the bulls, the bears are pulling on each other. There's still bulls that want Bitcoin, but they might want to buy it at lower prices. You have the bears that are just taking profit, essentially, and then you have the whales that were selling a bit. These forces keep playing on each other, back and forth, and I'm waiting to see. It's almost like tug of war, and we have the two sides. We have the bulls and the bears, and we're just kind of for the time being. I think the closer we get to the next Fed meeting, that's when we're going to start ripping again. That's my guess. We'll see. We'll see if I'm right. We need a catalyst to pull us out of this little tug-of-war match. And earnings have been pretty good from the companies. We're showing cracks in the economy, which more likely predicts a rate cut. And that, I think, is going to be the spark. But I don't think it's going to happen when the rate cut actually happens. It's going to be in anticipation of that, a couple weeks out from that meeting, beginning of September. That's when I see us grinding out of this little tug-of-war match. So I have taken out some of my leverage. That's how I'm playing it. I do play with leverage. I try not to get too crazy with it, but IBIT is what I keep sticking to because, again, it just keeps printing money. And I play both sides. I sell calls, I sell puts against it. I have the shares, and I just, depending on where Bitcoin goes, I close them out early, bank that profit, do that all day long, and it's a great system. It's been working well for quite a while now. So, in any event, future video. I've been working on a bank loan for the specific purpose of getting a Bitcoin. I am approved. However, the amount of approval is still a little bit less than a Bitcoin. So we'll see how that goes. There's a promotional rate that I was able to nab. Potentially remodel a roof or a kitchen, replace a roof, excuse me. But I'm going to get a Bitcoin. That's the plan. So I'm going to do a video on that. Now, a lot of people would say, well, that's crazy risky. Okay. We'll see. We'll see how it works out. So in any event, until we meet again, Bitcoin News Daily. Take care.